Now, Trade Union Nehawu is continuing its public service strike at non-essential government departments. Members are pushing for a 10% wage hike. Yesterday, the Labour Court issued an interdict ordering essential workers to report for duty. Let's find out now how the talks are going between the union and its legal team. Our reporter Heidi Giokos monitoring the situation for us on the ground. She's up and about in Johannesburg this morning, and she's going to be speaking to the South African Communist Party, which is an ally of COSATU, under which Nehawu is affiliated as one of COSATU's unions. Good afternoon, Heidi. Thank you very much for your time. Yesterday, when I interviewed the General Secretary of Nehawu in the afternoon, Mr. Sapete, he said negotiations will continue between themselves as Nehawu and government to find a solution. I wonder if you've heard of any progress at all.
Yes, so what we do understand is that I think negotiations will continue. It seems as though Nehawu will be engaging with governments. We were previously told that there seems to be, there rather was some kind of deadlock in terms of government not further wanting to engage with Nehawu. But I think the good news here, Bradan, is that you have seen some normalcy return to hospitals and healthcare facilities across the Gauteng province. And this, of course, after that interdict was handed down by the Labour Court in the Western Cape, that all essential Nehawu striking workers need to return to work with immediate effect, given possibly the loss of life that we have seen over the week or so because of the strike. But I want us to get more perspective from the SACP, which we do know is an alliance. Are they in support of this particular strike? We are joined by Tiniko and Dini. Thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it. You, as an alliance partner, seeing what has happened over the last week or so, are you still in support of what Nehawu is embarking on, given that they are now allowing all essential workers to return to work, but non-essential strikers continue?
No, look, we remain in support of all the public service workers because you'll remember that it's not only Nehawu that it has declared this strike. Yes, in majority, and Nehawu being the one that immediately started as early as last week. But these incidences, one thing that is unfortunate is that the media has then generalized isolated incidences as if it was all over and workers were continuing to be violent, which is not true. But we've made a call to say that it's important that the workers remain united and focus on the common interest. In this case, is for them to achieve the goal of what they are pursuing. And we are happy at least to be notified that the employer is willing to talk again, and especially from last night there have been some engagements that have started, and we hope that all the parties will be able then in a peaceful way and in the best interest of this country and the workers who deserve what is due to them, they are able to go back to the table and ultimately find an amicable solution.
So when you say talks have started again, is this between government and the Union Nehawu?
Yes, with the public service unions, because as we say, is that this should not only be reduced to Nehawu alone, because it's not only Nehawu. You have about 5 to 6 COSATU affiliated unions that are part and parcel of this. You still have other unions that are affiliated to SAFTU that are part and parcel of this, and that is why our support is not only to Nehawu but is to the entire public service union, because firstly it was wrong for government to renege from agreements that they've agreed upon, the 2018 wage agreement, and this is what has caused all these things. But again, we want to appreciate the discipline of the unions, because following the Labour Court judgment, which yes was unfortunate, but they were able then to engage with all their workers to go back to work, especially those that are essential. And we have seen that they've went back. We hope that actually government should be having the same heart of saying that they need to understand, instead of focusing on threatening workers with no work, no pay, and all other things, they need to then go to the table with a good heart and be able to find a solution before even the economy that is already dilapidated, that is collapsing, to collapse more.
Okay, let me ask you this, Diniko. Do you agree, or who do you think, rather, let me put it this way, should take the blame for the 4 deaths and possibly increasing number linked directly to the strike because of the serious disruptions caused at healthcare facilities?
Look, the only power that the workers have is their labor. And if then there's no solution to some of the issues that they raise, the only way for them to find peace is to withdraw their labor. And obviously, when they withdraw the labor, there will be some casualties and consequences. So in essence, government must take the blame, because if then they implemented the resolution 2018 as per the agreement, as per the signed wage deal, we will not be where we are today. And then immediately the negotiations for 2023-2024 would have started in peace. So clearly it can't be the workers that are being blamed, and we don't then look at government, because the issue is that is the same government that decided to introduce the austerity measures that is being hard on government. We have seen the crisis of our economy, and we have seen the rise of cost of living, which obviously therefore then the workers have to demand something because they can't afford anything. So government is the one, even now are saying, is the ones that left the PSBC table, then they need to come back and having in their mind that more lives can be lost, and then they will want to blame the striking workers, but they don't see themselves that they are part and parcel and they are the ones that reneged on the wage agreement.
Just lastly, the Finance Minister, Godongwana, has made it very clear that our fiscus cannot handle a 10% wage increase. It wasn't even considered or tabled in the recent budgets a couple of weeks ago, and a 4.7% wage increase has been factored in, not a 10%. Government says they cannot afford a 10%. What happens then? As an alliance partner, do you encourage unions to continue with their strike?
No, look, measures can be put in place to get some resources, and for the fact that the employer is willing to come back to the table, clearly it means that there's a particular offer that they are willing to put on the table again to the employees. And I don't think that the unions themselves, they are not that reasonable to say that at least if anything that will go beyond especially inflation rate, they will still want to hang on to the 10%. But the reality is that there is a cost of living that is growing every day, where the working class can no longer afford. So then there must be measures from the government to see where do they get the resources, because from time to time when there are disasters, there's always any resources that can be done. We are faced now with the electricity crisis. We're able to declare the state of disaster so that we can be able to facilitate certain procurement processes quickly and see where do we get the resources. Even this issue of workers is a disaster, because therefore we can see that if you are not then intervening, we will have more challenges, especially within the healthcare sector. We can see many lives being lost and all those things. So they need to find ways to say where do they get the resources, but they need to then live up to their promises based on the 2018, because already they've been a delay. And what we see attempts to divide the workers, because there are those who are already ready to go to the table for the 2023-2024 negotiations, but there are those that are still hanging on these ones. And all these two processes, unfortunately, it's not the workers that have self-created these issues, but it's the government.
Okay, thank you so much for your time. We do appreciate it. That is Diniko Ndini, who is from the SACP. And I just want to highlight the fact that this Home Affairs Behind Me, Bradan, opened for a few hours today and then closed when they heard that strikers and the protest is moving into this particular area. We also saw it at the social development departments and the sports, arts and recreation departments within the city of Johannesburg. So they're continuing with their strike.
Thank you very much, Heidi Giokos, for that latest update about the public service strike. So the sector at a standstill here and there, but only non-essential employees are now participating in this strike. While negotiations are still underway, the unions still insisting on their demand of 10% salary increase. We'll have to find out later on what government will give.